So in this test we're going to try some actual sanding. This is a piece of 6mm birch ply that I've had some lacquer on that I use for drill boxes. So it's actually a flooring lacquer, so it's pretty tough. I'm going to try left side and right side, a minute sanding on each one, and let's see how each one does. So there's a line down the middle. And a new sheet of P120. And that's actually 30 seconds and that's gone completely. Sheet of P120. Okay. You can see where the clamps were, obviously. But in terms of finish, there's absolutely nothing to choose between those. So testing for vibration is always going to be a little bit tricky. I've got this little sort of ski slope sled thing on here. I'm going to put up a corral, a few children's sweeties, call them Smarties, call them M&Ms, whatever you want, into this sort of space. Another section penciled off here. Get as many as we can in there, as flat as we can, like so. And then I'm just going to run the sander at one end here and see how far they move down. Should have done that, should I? So we'll start with the Bosch. Put this end just out of shot, just there. And your time starts now. So 1 minute. And then we take our sander with the same abrasive on each one, P120. And we do a minute's sanding on this spot, and we'll see how far we get. So the short answer is, in terms of vibration, there's really very little to choose between them. So when it comes to measuring the sound, we have our usual imperfect system. I've got a meter measured out on the bench. We've got my sound level app on my phone, and we've got the sander at exactly a meter away, held off the bench, but used just to generate noise. That was peaking at about 76, 77 dB. And for the Bosch, 77, 78 dB on both of those, so not a great deal in it at all. So when it comes to dust collection, as before, I'm much more interested in the dust it leaves behind than the dust it actually collects. So what I've done is I've got a couple of pieces of MDF with a set of holes drilled in them. I've measured out a set amount of filler. I fill those holes and spread the rest around evenly. I'm going to sand that off at an angle like this, and we'll see how much dust escapes and ends up on the black bin bag underneath. So yeah, as far as the Festool goes. Okay. These little bits, I suspect, are more off the hose than anything, although they may be just little crumbs around the edges. But that is pretty good. And if it's not clear, the line is just about here. Mark that. So the board was actually sitting. Can't really argue with that. For the Bosch, same incline. Yeah, that's the same because it's in the camera shot there. So same, a new sheet of abrasive, P120, it's kind of what you use on filler. Okay, so I think that's fairly clear that the shorter stroke, it's only 1.6mm orbit rather than 2mm, definitely has an effect. It is a finer finished sander. It has taken longer to get to that. Same grit, same P120 abrasive, and the dust collection on the Bosch isn't as good. You can't really argue with that. It has half the number of holes underneath, so obviously the Festool engineers knew their stuff. Now it's not a huge dramatic difference. On the other hand, it kind of is. If you're using this in somebody's house, you want as much dust to be collected as possible, and that's quite significant over whatever that was, a minute's usage. And it's this kind of really fine filler dust that creates all kinds of problems if you're working in an occupied house, for example. So, okay, a win to the Festool there, I think, with that one. We'll just have a quick look as well at the you see both in there? Yeah, the difference between the two. The Festool has actually gone right over the surface and has taken the sort of much of the filler stain out of the surface, whereas the Bosch, it's still there, and we could probably keep going on it. And it will get there, but it's still taking a lot longer. Interesting.